for New Rochelle. Supervisor Dillon wins mayor by 22 votes. Big parade and fireworks planned for April 25th.
The year was 1899. A century of change was about to catapult New Rochelle into the 20th century as a full-fledged city, the Queen City of the Sound. New Rochelle had been a provincial town for most of the 19th century. Locals looked proudly back on the town's roots as a haven for French Huguenots who fled religious persecution in France in 1688. But change was in the air. New Rochelle's population had grown to 14,000 residents. Jobs laying tracks for the railroad, upgrading pipes for the water company, and building a sewer system had drawn hundreds, then thousands of workers. Growing Irish, German, Italian, African American, and Jewish communities were thriving in New Rochelle.
Change was in the air indeed. The historic currents that would transform America from a small fledgling nation in 1800 to world power status by 1900 would effect the transformation of New Rochelle as well. A rural farming community at the beginning of the 19th century, New Rochelle could, at century's end, boast of a vibrant business community, a strategic transportation hub, a natural resort haven, and a population growing in both size and diversity. Yes, people were migrating to New Rochelle, lured by jobs, and as one magazine of the day put it, its salubrious climate, remarkable natural beauty, and convenience to New York. For many of these newcomers, New Rochelle would be a gateway to their American dream. By 1899, New Rochelle was America in microcosm. The currents of change affected by New Rochelle's growth took shape around mid-century. The growth and development of the downtown area, bordered by Main Street, Lincoln Avenue, Division Street, and North Avenue, created a demand for an advanced infrastructure capable of sustaining such growth. The residential and business communities of this downtown area voted together to incorporate into a village. Village taxes, in addition to town taxes, would then be used to develop and upgrade this infrastructure. Rapid development soon began. First fire department was operational by 1861. By 1885, the police department was organized. And by 1899, gas lighting, water and sewer systems, telephones and trolley service had been accessible to New Rochelle residents for years. The village supervised the development of planned neighborhoods like Rochelle Park and beachfronts like Hudson Park. Village boundaries were clearly demarcated by boulders, some of which can still be seen today, lying between City Hall and the new Criminal Justice Building. Amid this growth, political issues over taxation and municipal services arose. Most residents of both town and village agreed that the best way to resolve these issues were to incorporate both governments into one city. The leading proponents of this measure were Congressman John Underhill, long regarded as father of the city charter, and Addison Young, prominent attorney and president of the Board of Trade. The leading opponents included the Republican Party leader, Charles Nutt, who felt that the Democrats would take control of the new city government, and the Westchester County Board of Supervisors, who did not wish to subsidize a newly created criminal justice system. Opposition notwithstanding, in 1898, the residents of New Rochelle successfully petitioned the New York State Legislature to incorporate us as a city. However, the measure was defeated when then Governor Black vetoed the bill. The following year saw newly elected Teddy Roosevelt approve the bill and sign the incorporation of the city of New Rochelle into law on March 28, 1899. 3 weeks later, April 18th, the first city elections were held. Democrats swept into office, led by first city mayor, Irishman Michael Dillon.
Church bells rang, factory whistles blared, bonfires warmed the crowds, and fireworks lit the sky on April 25th, 1899, as New Rochelle celebrated its incorporation as a city. A parade of citizens marched to Lawton Street to serenade Congressman Underhill at his home. Then the procession headed to Main Street and Memorial Highway, where the town hall was located, for speeches and festivities. Alderman T.J. Burke chose the music for the evening, Wearing of the Green, Killarney, and Auld Lang Syne. Meanwhile, Tammany Hall political boss J. Harrison Powers set the theme for Mayor Dillon's administration. During an election celebration at the Democratic Club in Manhattan, Powers pulled the new mayor aside to deliver some managerial advice. Stick to them while they stick to you. And when they do wrong, turn them out. It was a surprise to many residents that a mayor of Irish descent could be elected in a Protestant town like New Rochelle. But the election of Mayor Dillon reflected the increasing population and increasing status of New Rochelle's Irish community.
So, the results of the 1899 election for mayor must have sent shockwaves through the local establishment. An American Irish Catholic elected mayor. The growing Italian community had combined forces with the Dillon supporters, and he beat out a split ticket. A radical event had occurred. The building of the railroad created a growing Irish settlement on the south side of the city. Many of the Irish had fled their own country in the famine years of the late 1840s, adding to the settlement. Menial labor was their lot, and girls were taken in as domestics. The Irish were an unwelcome intrusion in a strong Protestant Huguenot community. A curfew was imposed on these Irish settlers, and they were not allowed north of Centre Avenue. No Irish need apply was the rule on a national scale too. But the Irish are a Celtic, resilient people of great faith who survived 800 years of subjugation in their homeland and yet tenaciously preserved their identity and their culture against many odds. The same spirit sustained the immigrants here. To help their own local Irish countrymen, a group of 8 men met in a basement in Lawton Street on April 5th, 1863, and formed a society to help families in sickness and in death, but especially to give them a decent burial. The society then was approved on April 11th of 1865 and incorporated on January 28th of 1869. That society is still in existence today. The New Rochelle Irish Benevolent Society holds the unique distinction of being the oldest fraternal chartered society in New York State. And one of these 8 charter members was John Dillon, the father of the first mayor of the city of New Rochelle. By 1883, they had acquired their own property on Lawton Street, and then they enjoyed an income from a restaurant tavern on the street level called the Trio Cafe. And they had rentals for the upper room for $35 a year if used, yes, once a month. But you had to pay $45 a year if you used it twice a month. And the rental for one occasion was $1.50. The cost of a new piano that they purchased that year in 1899 was $80, because dances were held on the maid's day off especially, which was always on Thursday. Other entertainment included boat excursions, and the boat excursion of that year cost $100. And then they had annual dinner dances, where many an Irishman met his future bride. During the year 1899, it happened that 4 members passed away. And for each funeral, a very special meeting had to be called to assign pallbearers, stress proper dress, which included wearing their badge of mourning, and then they appointed a committee to draw up a resolution of condolences, a very, very formal document written into the books, sent to the family, and of course published in the local newspaper. Same year, the death benefit of then $40 was raised to $75 in July. By 1899 then, 37 years after they were founded, the status of the Irish seemed to be improving. Occupations of the new members of this year included bricklayer, hotel keeper, liquor dealer, truant officer, painter, mason, blacksmith, we still had horses, druggist, coachman, policeman, agent, laborer, carpenter, conductor, caretaker, and electrotyper. At their December meeting of 1899, one Thomas Hochter was elected as one of the 12 members of the Board of Directors for the year 1900. Our distinguished city historian for the past 50 years, Tom Hochter, is indeed the 1900s Thomas Hochter's son. With us here tonight. We in New Rochelle have been blessed with the Hochter services, of course, for over 100 years. But the most remembered and recounted event of 1899 among the Irish was the election of John Dillon's son as mayor. A Catholic of Irish parents, but he was born in New Rochelle. He was educated in the public schools and he attended Lockwood Academy. He had been a clerk of the town, a village collector of taxes, a clerk of the village, then a supervisor, and in 1899 he was mayor. This was perceived, of course, as a great symbol of the Irish breaking the barrier of discrimination and beginning to dream the American dream. Music and song were an integral part of every ethnic group, and no less in the Irish tradition. Some songs heard in the late 1800s have been handed down through generations and are still with us today.
Sweetest flower that grows. You may search everywhere, but none can compare with my wild Irish rose. My wild Irish rose, the dearest flower that grows. And someday for my sake she may let me take the bloom from my wild